I never thought I'd speak this story aloud, not even to myself. Some memories are safer when sealed in silence, yet this one kept pushing at the edges, refusing to fade. It began quietly, like a breath caught between hesitation and need. Julia's hand brushed beneath my sweater before a single word found me. The air in the storage room was heavy with summer's breath, the scent of dust and wood curling around us. When she pressed me gently against the wall, something deep inside me finally exhaled, as though I'd been holding that breath for years. She didn't rush. She simply stood close enough for me to feel the waiting. I didn't move either. The quiet between us thickened, stretching and folding until it almost hummed. Her hand shifted slightly as she bent to pick up a small package, and for a heartbeat, I nearly broke the silence with something ordinary. A thank you, a joke, an escape. But instead, something else slipped from me. Words that shouldn't have mattered, yet somehow did. Julia's eyes met mine. In that pause, the air trembled, a soft uncertainty threading between us. I pulled the door open wider and she followed, stepping through the faint light that spilled across the porch. The sunset cast long, golden streaks across the boards, and I realized I hadn't turned on the light. I didn't need to. The day's warmth still clung to everything, stubborn and slow to leave. She crouched by the steps, lifting the box with her usual easy strength. The hem of her shirt brushed her back as she moved, and I caught myself watching, quietly, carefully, as though sight alone could betray me. When she looked up, a faint smirk curved her lips. That familiar look that never seemed to mean just one thing. "Since you're already down there," I said softly, surprising myself with the teasing edge in my voice, "you might as well bring it in for me." She paused, one eyebrow lifting, calm, unreadable. And for a moment it felt like the air itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Julia didn't speak. She only tilted her head slightly, eyes steady on mine, before standing with the box in her hands. When she brushed past me through the doorway, her shoulder grazed mine, light, deliberate, enough to shift the quiet that had been resting in the room. I followed her inside, the air feeling different now, fuller somehow. She set the box down by the table and kept her hand there longer than needed, her fingers lingering against the cardboard as if she were listening to something unseen. I hovered in the doorway, unsure whether to move or wait. "Water?" I asked, reaching for a glass to fill the stillness. "Sure," she said, her voice low, almost tender. I felt her gaze on me as I moved across the kitchen, the hem of my sundress brushing softly against my knees. The fridge door opened with a sigh, releasing a cool rush of air against my skin. When I turned, she had stepped closer, close enough that the air between us thinned. I handed her the glass and she took it, her fingers brushing mine. She drank, then placed it down with a quiet tap. "Nice place," she murmured. "Thanks," I replied, leaning back against the counter. "You in a rush today?" Her mouth curved faintly. "Not unless I need to be." I reached past her for another glass, my arm grazing her lightly. Neither of us moved away. Her hand came to rest on the counter beside mine, not touching, but near enough that every heartbeat seemed louder. "You always linger this long?" she asked after a moment. I smiled, not quite meeting her eyes. "Only when I'm welcome." Her gaze softened. "And today?" I turned toward her fully then, my voice a whisper that felt heavier than words should. "You haven't worn out your welcome." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was alive. Julia's fingers flexed against the counter, brushing the edge of my hand. I didn't pull away. Our pinkies touched. A quiet answer passed between us. She lifted her hand, took mine, and the rest of the room faded, leaving only the sound of breath and the slow rhythm of two people standing too close to pretend anymore. Julia's thumb traced across the back of my hand. Slow, deliberate, like she was memorizing something she'd never meant to touch. The intimacy startled me, not because it was sudden, but because it felt inevitable. When she finally let go, Her fingers lingered for a breath before falling away. Her other hand hovered near my waist, close enough for the air to hum between us. I set my palm against her chest, feeling the quiet rise and fall beneath the thin fabric. It was grounding, steady, human. She didn't move closer right away. She waited, as though she wanted permission written in silence. I leaned back slightly until the counter caught me, the cool surface a sharp reminder of where I was. She tilted her head, studying me, her eyes softer than I remembered them ever being. "You sure?" she asked quietly, barely above a whisper. I nodded, the motion small, certain. Julia exhaled, a sound between relief and restraint. Her hand slid to the small of my back, firm but unhurried. When our lips met, it wasn't rushed. It was steady, a quiet unraveling that carried years of things unsaid. Her other hand came to my shoulder, her touch gentle enough to still my breath. The world outside dimmed, just 2 heartbeats, steady and close, filling the silence between us. For a long moment, we didn't move. The kiss deepened only slightly, careful and calm, as though either of us could step away but neither wanted to. I pressed my hand against her chest again, feeling that familiar rhythm. Not wild, just present. When she finally drew back, her forehead rested against mine. The quiet was tender now, not heavy. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator, the whisper of evening slipping through the window. She glanced toward the counter, then back to me. I gave the smallest nod. That was all it took for her to smile, not in triumph, but in understanding. We walked together into the living room, side by side. The house felt different, warmer, alive. When we sat, our shoulders brushed, a silent confession shared between breaths. The night stretched quietly around us, unbroken, steady. And for the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty.